everybody. Welcome to the 30-day poetry challenge. I'm very excited to be facilitating the next month of June with you to fill it with fun and play and poetry because, let's be honest, there are lots of fussy, stuffy rules about poetry that are very important to learn, but that's not really what we're going to be discussing here. What I like to discuss is the place that writing has in your life right now. And for a lot of people, you have to realize that artists, that writers, that play is their work. So you have to allow yourself to play. You have to allow yourself to practice. You have to allow yourself to try new things and take risks in order to learn. And you have to immerse yourself in poetry. Now, just a little bit about me. I am a registered reflexologist and a Reiki master, so I do healing work, but I am also a freelance writer. And I have done a couple of workshops called Narrative Healing, which is taking writing and letting that lead you down your path. But this time, as opposed to taking a healing journey with just any prose, we're doing poetry and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So what you can expect from this over the course of the next 30 days is to have a new poem every month, because the way that you learn, that the best teachers are reading poems, are immersing yourself in other people's work, because imitation is like training wheels, and you need the training wheels, and don't worry about the training wheels. We're just going to be here to have fun. You're going to get to discover new poets, you're going to discover new poems, and we're going to do a lot of fun exercises to kind of get you out of your head in order to just create something without judgment and just have fun, because a lot of the time when you're allowed to let that critical part of the mind go, that's when stuff comes to the surface. So there is a risk in that, just kind of letting go of everything that's critical. Oh, I can't write poetry. No. Poetry is words. When it comes down to it, poetry is words. That's it. It's playing with words. It's wordplay. So just a little bit about me. I grew up with an English teacher, an elementary teacher for a mum who spouted poetry a lot of the time. So my mother would walk around the house, and there was this one poem that she could never remember beyond the first line. It was a William Wordsworth poem. So she would literally wander around the house going, I wandered lonely as a cloud. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Kelly, what's the next line? I wandered lonely as a cloud. And I just wanted to shake her and say, look it up. You have a lot of books. I wandered lonely as a cloud. That is a really good place to start. So I wandered lonely as a cloud. Look it up. You can do that. I've done enough of that in my lifetime. What I would like to read you instead is another one of my mom and my favorite poems. It is called High Flight by John Gilsby McGee Jr. And he was a pilot, and obviously this comes directly from his experience with, which is wonderful. So, High Flight by John Gilsby McGee Jr. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in sunlit silence, hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while, with silent, uplifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. That was my poem, and before I knew anything about poetry, before I knew anything about writing, this was the poem that made me really, really understand very clearly, I want to write poetry that makes me feel like this. And that is the power of poetry to inspire. That is why we are going to delve into poems to get you excited about poetry in general. And this kind of poem, you know what, sometimes it can come out if you're a pilot. But we are going to write poetry from where we are in our life now. And this poem is a way that you can, well, it's a way that I inspire myself to go back to what is that feeling? What is that urgency? What do I want to write about? So my challenge to you this week is to not necessarily write a poem if you don't want to not necessarily post a poem on this page if you don't want to, but what is it that I want to write about? And the other thing that I do in my workshops is really, until you create a space for something to be, it can't show up. So what that means is, where do you write? What time of day do you like to write? What type of journal, what type of pen do you like to write? Because what we need to do is to set up a plan of attack for you to be able to have the time and a safe space that feels good in order to sit down and do the practical exercises that I'm going to offer you. And you'll have the most success that way if you realize that this 30-day challenge is not something that can be accomplished unless you can give yourself a place to accomplish it in. So basically, cliff notes of this conversation: we're going to read lots of poetry, at least one poem a day. We are going to think about our writing spaces. Where do we want to be? What makes us feel good? What are the things that we want in our writing space? And to give ourselves a time and a place to do those things. And I would like you to make a list of all the things that you think you would want to write about, whether it's a plane trip, whether it's a walk to the corner store. It doesn't have to be magnanimous. It can be small. Often the best poems are about things that are small and inconceivable. Poetry can be so many things. So don't limit yourself to thinking it's going to be one thing or the other. Just play, just explore. And I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. And I wish you well. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Get in touch with me at brave.creative.kelly@gmail.com. And let's talk poetry. All right, take care. I wish you a very lovely day. And if you would like to play with some poetry of yours, feel free to put it up on the page. And the only thing that I would ask is that if there is any feedback, it is only going to be positive, because this is a space for us to encourage small voices or big voices or any voice. And we need to create a safe space here on this page just as much as we need to create a safe space in your own home, in your own life, to do this work. All right? So those are the rules. Those are the expectations. Those are the things that you can expect. I hope you have a wonderful time on this journey with me, and I can't wait to get started. All right, take care. Bye. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful journey into poetry. And I'd like to wish you good luck with your own writing and poetry projects. Please subscribe so you don't miss a day. And thank you so much.